Hello again, I am Jim Bob and welcome back to Marwell Manor. We are going to be doing some harvesting today. The weather has actually been quite nice to us now after those horrendous downfalls that we had that lasted, a long time. The storm finally broke yesterday. The weather cleared up and we got a little bit of drying time in, and then it's been clear and it's actually been quite warm overnight. And you can see we've got some sun now, although some cloud is on its way in at a later point today. The crops have dried out enough for us to do some harvesting. So we're going to be tackling the crops that we planted on half of field 19 up here. And get those done today. And we do need the straw from here as well. So we will be doing a straw harvest here. Our grass has now finally grown long enough for us to actually cut properly as well. So at some point over the next couple of days we're going to be doing some hay work as well, so that we've got plenty of hay for food for our cattle. I think that's going to be enough of a gap for the header to be away from the field. Approach this at a better angle, there we go. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Right, it's unfold. That bird thought twice about landing there. Let's unfold the harvester. And we want to be trailing straw. There we go. Actually, I think that might be actually the way we need to be set up. Let's find out. I do want the border actually to be blown straw, so let's see. Yes, we're set up correctly to do our border pass. So we're not going to straw the entire field because it's just going to be a little bit messy to deal with once it's done. We're going to try and manage it a little bit more easily. I'm going to do a border pass and try and square up part of our field, and then we'll have some nice straight up and down rows of straw to deal with. Make sure we get everything off the field. There we go. A little bit of a bump there. And I don't know if we're going to have time to get another harvest done after this. It depends how long it takes us to gather all the bales. We are going to be leasing a bale collector again, so that we can get the fields emptied. And it will be an Anderson bale trailer because we do have a round baler, so we need to use one of those round bale collectors. And we'll probably go for the same one as last time. Again, it'll just be leased, but we'll be hanging on to it again for a couple of days because we are probably going to straw field 15 as well when we harvest field 15. So again, we can make some money back on on the cost of our leasing. We can make some decent money on the straw bales. I'm not sure how many we're going to need to keep. I would say we're probably going to need to keep, as the herd gets bigger and bigger, if they use up straw faster and faster, I'd say we're probably going to need to keep around 40 or 50 bales. I'll probably go with 50. Will be our kind of target, and then the rest will sell off. And once we've got those 50 straw bales, as I say, the rest of them will all be part of our little bit of slush fund to cover the leasing costs of the trailer, which over a few days will stack up a little bit. A bit like the bales will stack up. You see what I did there? But yeah, the cost is obviously going to increase over a period of time. We're going to have our initial leasing fee, which will be the most expensive fee. We'll have a per hour usage fee, which will probably might tick over into a full hour's use. Not sure on that one. And then beyond that, we're certainly going to have overnight fees on top of that as well. So we do need to factor all of that into how much it's going to cost us to lease the bale trailer. And it's a little bit more than I would like to pay. But I deliberately didn't, go ahead and buy one of those bale trailers because I don't know if we're going to be here. And, if we're not going to be here, we have to kind of maximize our operating budget that we have right now. So that is more a decision for next year, whether we're here or someone else is here. If we're here, we'll need one throughout the year. So we'll end up buying one. If it's someone else, it'll be that farmer's decision whether he wants to go with an auto load stacker like us, or if he wants to do it manually. I say he, could be a she. You never know. Like I said, if we move on, it all depends who takes over from us. So we will leave that decision until next year. See how much money is available in the farm's budget next year once all the other costs have been accounted for. One thing I have noticed is that it's taken so long for the grass field to regrow. Last year, because we had this field all grass, then we were kind of splitting it into two halves. So we effectively turned it into two separate grass fields by the way that we were cutting it half at a time. So while one field was regrowing, we still had another field that we could cut. And then, the weight between cuts, wasn't so bad. Oops, we are full already. Really didn't think we'd be full that quickly, but of course, this is a different crop, isn't it? This is a high volume crop. So where am I gonna have space here to maybe get a trailer alongside? This is going to be really tight to do this without damaging crop. I think I might just, if I park a little bit in the bush, I might be able to get away with that. That's not ideal, is it? That's really not ideal. Alright, let's try that. Let's turn the engine off. Make our way down the side of the crop here. There's certainly not enough room to drive a tractor in down through here. You can see we're kind of having to fight our way through the bushes just to get down the side of the crop here. See, we still have a few puddles knocking around as a result of all of that rain that we had. But as I say, the crops themselves luckily have dried out quite nicely. Or at least enough for us to do the harvest anyway. They could be drier, but time is starting to tick away from us. We are running out of days. We still have field 15 to harvest after this one, and our soybean as well. Plus we also have hay work to do, and we've got to get that done before it gets to the point where the grass is going to stop growing completely and start dying off. And we also have a big pit of silage that needs to be worked as well. So yeah, we're kind of up against it a little bit here, and we're not going to have any grass of our own, I don't think. In terms of our own grass field, we're not going to have enough grass to do hay work and to do a lot of silage work as well. So we're probably going to have to go out and do a mowing contract on someone else's fields. Probably have to do a couple of fields so that we can start getting some chaff into our own bunker here at the farm, so we have the TMR materials that we need for our livestock next year, because we don't have any silage bales left. We don't have any hay bales left. We have no food left apart from what's in the trough. So we only have a little bit of food left in, for our livestock before they start getting hungry. We really need to avoid that. So we need to start getting a wriggle on. We might even potentially have to keep some of the silage that we have at the BGA as an emergency supply. Rather not do that. I'd rather be able to sell all of that silage to fund an expansion. As I was saying, because of the way that the grass was growing last year in 2 separate halves of this field. You know, it never felt like we were in a position where we were struggling to get grass, but this year, with only one single field and a long grow time for the grass to come back to full length again, we've really been up against it in that respect. So we do need to purchase another grass field. Whether we're here or not next year, the farm needs another grass field, so field 17 has to be bought at the end of this year. And that is essentially what I think our BGA is going to fund, or at least heavily contribute towards, is purchasing field 17. That's going to be at least a couple of $100,000. Good sized field, but it's right here at the farm. You know, we need access to that on a permanent basis. So I'll see if we can negotiate temporary access this year so that we can get a cut in, but going forward we are really going to need permanent access to that field, which means, you know, owning it ourselves, I think. Right, let's try and straighten this bit of the field out. This should take us up to that kind of little crescent as it curves around the hedges there. And then everything to our left we can then start creating straw swaths, so we've got a nice easy area to work. Like I said, we're going to be doing straw work on field 15 as well, so we don't have to get every single little bit of straw off this field. I find it much easier to work with just nice, easy, clean rows when it comes to doing our baling, rather than having them sprawling all over the field in all different directions. It slows things down a little bit trying to tidy and row all of that stuff up. And while rowing is not so much of an issue with straw, because it's coming out of a much wider area than the back of a mower, it's certainly, you know, it's still easier to be able to just do it all straightforwardly. And we just carry that straight line on. Perfect, there we go. So we'll work to clear out this little corner section just here, then we'll clear out that little section over there, and then we can start putting some rows in. It'll be a little bit different over there because it's a very long, kind of narrow sort of step into the field there, so there's still plenty of straw that we can get from there, but we will it's not like this where it swings in and out quite dramatically. There it's a much more gradual step in and out of the field, so we will try and get some straw from that area as well. I think we might possibly, because we're up against this hedge here, we might possibly need to do another pass along the bottom of the field here as well, just to give us a little bit more working room and a little bit more turning room, more importantly. Let's put a gradual kind of angle on it, not perfectly flat, not perfectly squared off, but gradual enough that you know, having a worker running won't cause us any issues. One of the other things I did last night, while I was waiting for that rain to stop, was to finish constructing that trailer I was talking about. We cleaned up the frame that we bought from the dealership and broke out those sheet metal materials that we'd also purchased, and so for a little under £4,000 we had all the relevant bits of equipment that we needed to build our own trailer, and I'll show that to you a little bit later on. That is finished. It's still parked up in the workshop. Just got someone checking over my wiring, make sure I haven't made any faux pas with that, make sure it's road legal, and that should be done in the next hour or so, someone should be turning up to do that. Because I'm not a trained electrician, so I mean, I can do some basic bits of wiring here and there, but for something that's going to be on the road and needs to be checked, just to make sure that I haven't made any silly mistakes, or I'm not going to short anything out or anything like that. So rather than just trusting my lack of expertise, I'm calling in someone who knows what they're doing, just to give it the once over, make sure everything I've done is correct, and correct anything that has been done wrong. And then we can get that out on the roads when we need to. We can use it to transport things, trees and stumps and pallets and seat bags and whatever we need. We can transport quite comfortably using that trailer. And we'll probably take it with us if we move on as well, if we get the opportunity. We might have to buy it from, it might have to stay with the farm. It all depends on how generous the Hollisters are feeling, I suppose, and that all depends on how good a job we've done once our contract comes to an end. Like I said, we're still talking terms. We may be staying for another year, we may be moving on at the end of this year. It's still undecided yet. Up until this point, I've had complete autonomy as to operate the farm how I want to, but they have a clear direction that they want the farm to go in going forward, and it's not necessarily something that I think is the right decision for the farm, or it's not necessarily the direction I want to go with the farm. So we are a little bit at loggerheads over that, but at the end of the day, it's their farm, it's their money, it's their decision. I only have a limited input in that respect, so they have been very generous towards us. They have backed us with a lot of the decisions that we've made so far, including the decision that we do need to acquire Field 17 for next year. They are wholeheartedly on board with that, but again, it has to come from the farm's profits rather than their pockets. They feel that they've invested enough at this stage, and they're unwilling to add in another large chunk of cash, having only just had their initial 100,000 repaid. They're unwilling to then go and spring another 250,000 plus into the farm when the 500,000 loan hasn't been paid off yet. So plenty of as I say, discussion still going on, and we'll see what happens as the rest of the year progresses. We may be here next year, we may not, but regardless, we still have a job to do, and so I'm going to crack on with that, and I will catch up with you in a little while. Okay, so we're almost full on this first trailer. Which we will be by the time we get to the end of this row here. So we'll go and drop that off. The bale collector has been delivered to us by the store, which is quite handy. They've actually dropped it off down by the greenhouses for us, so we won't have far to go to collect that. And I'm wondering if we can actually just transfer 2 complete stacks straight into our storage bay. I might do that. That'll be 48 bales, and that'll be close to the 50 that I was targeting. I think, 2 full stacks should be enough. And they can see we're at 37.5, just over 37,500 litres. Trailer capacity is 39,200 off the top of my head. So almost full, 37.7 there in the end. So we'll go drop this into the silo. We're going to end up with quite a bit of barley. So we've only done 4 sort of rows of straw so far, but plenty of straw to come off this field, plus all the straw from field 15 that we'll be collecting as well. And again, we'll do the same on that field. We won't get every last inch of straw off that field, but we'll get enough to make some money with bale sales. I would imagine we can get enough off one field to do our own straw, and then everything else can be sold. But again, we'll see how we go. So let's get this into the silo. You can see we've got the grate folded back up now that we're not blowing chaff into the trailer. And there we go, it's the first of our barley harvest into storage, ready for selling in the winter. So let's go back to the field and carry on working away on the crop. So as you can see, to save a little bit of time, I decided to bring the baler up and work the straw while the combine is harvesting away in the field, just to save us a little bit of time. So we don't have to sort of wait for the combine to finish all of the crop before we can start the baling. We can at least have some of it done by this point. We're running at 10 miles an hour, which is a little bit faster than I like to run for round bales, but we need to go a little bit faster because we have to get down and back up again before the combine gets too far down the field, and then back up the field so that we can unload it each time it gets back to the top end of the field. Because each double pass equates to about 80 odd percent, 85% of the combine's capacity. So we kind of have to race it a little bit. There we go. And I said earlier that we were thinking of maybe 50 bales of straw. I'm going to go with 48. That's 2 full loads of the trailer. That's what we'll keep for our cows. 48 bales of straw, and we'll probably want, maybe double that number for hay if the herd's going to get really big next year. But we'll settle for just 2 loads of hay to get us started as well. I think we had 30 bales last year. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head how many it was, or 30 something. So we'll have slightly more numbers this year. And you saw how long those other bales lasted us. They lasted us an entire year. So yeah, 48 bales actually should be enough, because we can actually thin out the mix. We can, if we get enough silage, we can mix more silage than we can hay, to make sure that our hay supplies last longer. It all depends how much silage we get. I am in contact with the owner of Field 17 already about negotiating a purchase price, but we're going to see if we can also lease that field before the end of the year to do a cut on the grass that's already there, so that we can use that to fill up our bunker here at the farm. Hopefully that will maybe even come off the price of the field a little bit. Be interesting to see if he goes for that. Right, there we go. So got the baler closed. These bales have been perfectly behaved again, as you would expect. No movement from them at all, just staying exactly where they're supposed to. So even though I can't say it definitively, I'm almost completely sure that the wrap does make the bales slippier. Because we've seen now enough instances where bales would roll and slide and move all over the place when they were wrapped, but they would stay on the same piece of land. If they were straw bales or hay bales, they would stay exactly where they're supposed to, and barely a hint of movement. So I'm almost certain now that that wrap does make the bales a lot slippier. Because we have to be careful where we do our wrap bales. You need either a lot of patience to go and retrieve them if they do slide all over the place, or you need to pick a reasonably flat surface and don't work at a cross gradient. Right, there we go. One more time up and down the field and that combine will be, or this trailer will be full. So let's continue pushing on with the baling, because next time out we're going to have to unload the trailer, so we won't be able to do any baling between passes. So the last little bit of grain on the field. Let's see if we can get this all. That wasn't very clever. Never mind. We'll tag that little bit with just a bit of blown straw at the end, I think. But you can see we've got quite a few rows of straw here still to deal with. I think we'll easily get our 48 bales off this field, given what's left and how many we've already created. That's quite a good number there. Not sure on the exact number yet, haven't looked, but it's a decent stash of bales so far. Let's try and thicken that line up a little bit, and got that last little bit there to collect as well. So we've done 2 full trailers, well, 2 nearly full trailers, so let's say 37.5 twice, that is, come on brain, don't fail me now, 75 plus whatever's in here. We're looking at least 80,000 litres, between 80 and 85,000 litres I would say, as our total harvest haul. That's not too bad. We'll fold the combine up. Get the header on the trailer. A little off centre there. There we go, that looks good. Fold up the end plate so it's not going to catch on the back of the header as we, or the side of the header there as we hook up to the trailer. Excellent stuff. So that is now ready to go back into the barn. We'll get that moved away a little bit later, but for now we have straw that we need to finish collecting. So I'll grab the rest of these bales and I will see you in a moment. Just a last little bit of straw left to clear away, and then we can collect these bales, see how many we've got. We'll also get a final official tally on our harvest as well. I have put the last of that away in the silo now. Swing around the corner. There we go. We haven't got enough for another bale, so we'll just leave that loose like that, and then we'll just cultivate that into the soil. There we go. So let's see how many we've actually created. Move this out of the way. Let's take a look. Bales. We've created 64 bales. That's not too bad at all. And in terms of our harvest, 84,973 litres. That's just a fraction under 85. That's a pretty decent amount. So we need 48 bales. There are 64, so that'll be a partial trailer to go off towards the barn, and then anything that comes off field 15 will automatically go into the barn to be sold, because we'll have our stock of bales already. So let's start grabbing these up. There we go. Of all the little add-ons that we've had, in the last couple of years, I think this is one of my favourite bits of equipment. This trailer here, just the mechanism of it is great to watch. The way it stacks the bales, and it's really easy to unload them like this with this as well. If you've if you've got the knack of it, like I said, you need to be moving ideally at a couple of miles an hour. Oops. So that the stack is just the bales are distributed onto the floor surface more evenly. But I do love the fact that we can stack them in these kind of long triple stacks like this. It's really nice way of doing it. Certainly beats having these huge giant stacks reaching up into the sky that are quite wobbly, and the slightest misstep when trying to spike those bales sends the whole stack toppling to the floor. These are much more stable. Speaking of add-ons as well, we had a new fact sheet Friday with a Hallmark Terra variant DLC coming, and it's coming the end of this month. I think, was it the 30th of April? It's only a week or a couple of weeks away, and it's going to be completely free. So it's not free for season pass holders and paid for everyone else. It's free for everybody. I had wondered why we hadn't had the Terra variant released yet as a mod from Giants. This is obviously the reason why. I mean, it's a completely reworked model. Obviously, we got the Terra variant for the very first time in Farming Sim 15, and then that was transferred across to 17 again as a mod, not as part of the base game, which was a bit odd, but it was available as a mod, and it was basically just a copy of the 15 with maybe a little bit more detail, but I don't think it was. I think it was just a... Oops, we're full on the trailer, aren't we? It was essentially just the Farming Sim 15 model. There we go. And so you could see, there was some definite differences in terms of the overall visual quality of it compared to the brand new stuff in 17. But it still looked good. And now with 19, obviously we didn't have it as part of the base game. I still don't think it's been released yet. I saw somebody actually posting on the Facebook thread that it had already been released with open doors and windows and stuff, and it's like, that must be a PC only mod that's been released on the PC part of the mod hub, because Giants don't do opening doors. And they can see, look, we don't have, even now, we still don't have a Terra variant. But we're getting a brand new, completely redesigned, modern version of the Terra variant for free, with some attachments as well. So I'm looking forward to that. It'd be nice to actually have that. Like I said, I've been amazed that we hadn't had one released already, but that explains why they didn't release it, or the older one, because they're bringing the brand new one in. And it's great that they're doing it for free and they're not charging us for that. I mean, I was expecting that to be just part of the season pass, and a few quid for anyone who doesn't already have the season pass. But it's going to be, as I say, completely free for everyone. So we might look at possibly trying to trial one of those here on Marwell. But I think more likely we'll end up probably using it on a different farm in the future sometime. Right, now, so can I get my bales in here off the trailer? I don't know if I'm going to have enough room to actually unload this, in here. No, we're not. We're not going to have enough room. So I'm not going to be able to pull forward enough to be able to unload this smoothly. So we'll park these up just here, and then we'll transfer them into the shed later once we're done. Just pull forward a little bit so we're not blocking the entranceway. Just trying to wobble. There we go. Beautifully down, nice and smooth. That's what we like to see. So that's the first load of bales that needs to be put away into the shed. We've got another load to collect, and then whatever's left over will go off to the barn to be sold. So I'll carry on collecting bales, and I'll see you in a little while. And we've cleared the field, so we've got 16 bales on board. We're going to head over to the barn to get these sold. Oops, a little bit of a wobble there. And hopefully we'll get a nice little bit of cash from these. Now this probably isn't going to make a huge profit on when you factor in our leasing costs for the collector. But as I say, we're going to be hanging on to this and working field 15. 15 is bigger than the field we've just done, so we're not going to have time to harvest the field and bale it today. Even if we try and bale while we're harvesting and try and be a little bit creative that way, we're just not going to have the time. It's already, as you see, gone 2:45, so we've only really got about 3.5 hours of good sunlight left, of good working light, before it starts to get a bit too dark. Now we might be able to get the field harvested in that time, but even that is probably pushing it a bit, and certainly not going to be enough time to bale it and collect it afterwards. I don't really want to leave the straw out overnight in case we get bad weather again, so I'm trying to think what we can do instead. We are going to need to do some mowing for hay work. I don't think we've got enough time to get that mowed and headed and rowed and then baled and collected either. That's going to take a good chunk of a day as well. So you can see we're really up against it time-wise for some of our remaining jobs. We're going to have to work into the night, I think, on a couple of these jobs. But straw harvesting isn't one of them, I don't think. So I think ideally what we'll look to do is, with our soybean harvest, start very, very early, because the soybean are almost ready. We should hopefully be able to start those tomorrow. So if we get up really, really early, if we get up at say 1, 2 in the morning and start our soybean harvest, it won't take as long as it did last year because it's less of the field. And we'll get that done as quick as we can. It doesn't matter if we're working in the dark on that one, because we're only going to be putting out blown crop at the end of it. And then you can see the bales going through. That first lump there, 2,754, covers our leasing costs pretty much. On top of that, we've gained an extra sort of 2,200 on top of that as well. So we've paid for our worker and we've paid for the lease of this today and made a little bit of profit. But we've got a lot of bales to stack into the shed, so I'm probably going to focus on that next. Start getting those stacked away. And then, as I say, we'll probably get an early night so that we can get that harvesting started come the crack of dawn. Well, before that, in the very, very early hours of the morning, just after midnight, sort of 1-ish in the morning, we get started harvesting over there. And then go straight over to field 15 once we're done on that, and then we'll have all of the day there or most of the day, which is what we're going to need to get that field worked and baled and collected and sold. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think that's our plan of action. And then it's going to be grass work after that, because we'll have no more harvesting to do. We'll then work, weather permitting, of course. If it rains, we're kind of screwed. We won't be able to make hay. But assuming the weather's fine, we'll do a big grass cut on what's left of field 19 for hay. And we'll also, if we get the time and we get the permission, we'll also do a grass cut on field 17, so that we can... I've got to figure out where to leave this, actually, so it's not left out and exposed. I'm still indicating, aren't I? We'll put this in with our tractors overnight, I think. Yeah, we'll put it in this shed here. So yeah, we'll try and do a big grass collection off field 17 for our bunker here at the farm. So we've got the chaff to make the silage for TMR next year. Like I said, whether we're here or not, the farm is going to need that. And it would be completely irresponsible of us to ignore that fact and just go, well, we're not going to be here. Therefore, we don't have to do it, because we may well be here and be in desperate need. Plus, if we act in that way, it's a little unprofessional, and it's going to damage our chances of maybe getting hired anywhere else. We're not exactly going to get glowing references in the future if we've just ignored the long-term needs of the farm for our own short-term benefit. I wonder as well, actually, maybe this would be an opportunity for us to get a better bale spike that could maybe handle all three of those at a time, and bring the wheel loader, sorry, the telehandler over. I think we'll do that. Let's head over to the store. Where is my little buggy? Here it is. We'll drive over to the store. We'll have a look at some of the implements that they have for telehandlers. Hopefully they've got something that will enable us to be able to sort of spike all three of those bales quite comfortably, so that we can move them indoors and get them stacked in groups of 3. That'll certainly speed things up nice and easy. And once we've found something, if there is something, we'll then drive this over to the BGA. We'll grab our telehandler from there and drive that back to the farm and sort those bales out. So I'll see you in a moment. Well, the guys here at the dealership think they've got the perfect tool for me. Let's have a little wander around and see what they've brought out for us to have a look at. This is for a telehandler, so we will have to go and obviously collect that from the BGA. But there we go. It's a nice little fork here by Flegel. I think this could be absolutely perfect for what we want. So let's hop into our Gator, drive over to the BGA. We'll go grab the telehandler, drive that back to the farm with that tool, and then I guess we'll have to, once we're done stacking bales, we'll have to leave the Gator at the BGA until we're ready to take the telehandler back there. At some point we are going to need a bucket for the BGA as well for our telehandler, so maybe we can pick one of those up on the return trip. And I don't know if we're going to have time to do it all today. Obviously, we've got to get all those straw bales in, but with the grass bales as well, it may be a case that we actually have to send somebody to retrieve the Gator for us. That or we walk back tonight once we're done stacking and collect it. It's a long walk. And as I said, I did want to try and get an early-ish kind of night, because we are going to have a very, very busy day ahead of us tomorrow with all the harvesting that we want to try and get done. So we'll just crank the speed up a little bit. There we go. Our telehandler is not the fastest bit of equipment either. Only 15 miles an hour for its top speed, so it's going to take us a little while to get back to the farm. Let's see. We'll park up under the covers here. Like I say, we're going to have to look at getting this torn down next year as well and replaced with something else. And I've got an idea as to what I want to put in there. It's just getting it done, so we'll drop the claw or the bale grab here. There we go. It's just a single bale at a time. That's of no use to us whatsoever. We may as well just use whatever we've already got. So, as I say, I think this new fork could be absolutely perfect for what I want to do. Yeah, that should be designed perfectly to get 3 bales, as long as the forks or the spikes are far enough apart height-wise. That's the only potential issue I have. Yeah, I get the feeling it's designed to pick up square bales rather than round bales, but it could work just as well for us. There we go. Indicators off, beacons on, because we are a slow moving object, and pretty soon we're going to have a pretty nasty set of spikes sticking off the front of us as well. We'll travel with the arm up just in case we end up getting rear-ended by someone and as a result rear-end into a car in front. We certainly don't want to stab anything or anybody with those nasty looking spikes. Could do some serious damage to another car. And you can tell this is a European piece of equipment because our cockpit is really on the wrong side here. We should be on the right hand side for UK roads. This is designed for European roads where they drive on the right and we drive on the left, so you know, we should be in the centre of the road here, but we're not. We're on the very far edge. We can get around that, it's not too bad. Just have to be careful. We have to pay attention to the edge of the road rather than the centre of the road. So we'll get this hooked up and drive our way back to the farm. So we'll get the arm up so we don't cause a collision or damage to anything, and I'll see you back at the farm. Okay, here we are back at the farm. Now I'm quietly confident that this, as I say, is going to be the right piece of equipment for this job. Let's move to an external view just to get everything lined up the first time or two. Turn the beacon off now. So, is this going to have enough space height-wise between the spikes to securely grab the bales? It's okay, it's one thing just spiking them, but they need to be securely grabbed so that they don't start slipping and sliding off the forks once we get them on there. And I think this might be perfect. Cheap, we don't need working lights. We've got proper lights. There we go. Get those turned on. See, that top bale is a little bit loose, wanting to slide away a little bit. We'll just have to be careful when we're transporting them, because we can always push them back when we get them here. Try and get a little bit closer to the wall if we can. Perfect. Now my only concern is that they try and roll away on the bottom level. when they're placed. Hopefully that won't be an issue. What might be a bit more of an issue will be going another stack high. You can see those shadows getting quite long already. 4:45. This is going to take me, I think, probably a couple of hours to get these stacked away. So this is definitely going to be the last job of the day for us. But if we can move and comfortably stack 3 bales at a time instead of 1, it's going to speed up our bale handling an awful lot compared to last year when we were moving 1 or sometimes, if we were careful, 2 bales at a time. To be able to move 3 at a time like this is going to be a big improvement. There we go. Seems to be working quite well. As I say, we've got enough clearance to be able to get in and out with a nice tight turning radius, whereas unloading the trailers inside there would have been a bit more preferable. Just, I think it would have been a little bit too optimistic to try and unload in there and just not have the space to physically unload the trailer by pulling forward far enough. This slightly more time consuming by dropping them off and then moving them, but because we've moved them 3 at a time, this is going to make things a lot easier. I think we found our way forward with these bales as a long-term strategy. It's like this fork is perfect to deal with the tri-stack like this. So it's the perfect companion piece of equipment for our Anderson trailer, which again just strengthens the possibility of us buying one of those for next year if we're here next year. But if we are not here next year, we can certainly look at a future farm having, you know, this pairing of equipment. If we're going to be unloading bales like this, to be able to then move those bales in the same way like this, it makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And the weight isn't too much for our telehandler as well. You can see our back wheels are still firmly planted to the ground, which again I was slightly concerned about, with maybe this would be a little bit too front heavy. But our telehandler here, and this is the smallest telehandler available to us, you know, it's the cheapest of the of the ones on the market, this Bale one. So you'd imagine it's probably one of the smaller ones, slightly lighter perhaps. I'm sure there are definitely bigger, heavier versions. They shouldn't have any issues either. If this one can do it, the other one should be absolutely perfect as well. So there we go. Slightly uneven, as you'd expect. In the odd place, we can maybe, if we're careful, just try and nudge that bale back a little bit. There we go. I don't want to unsettle the stack too much, but there we go. This is a great way for us to get these bales into the shed. So, as I say, this is me for the rest of the day, moving these bales, and then it's all go tomorrow with a very, very early start on the soybean, followed up with a second harvest on field 15 for the wheat. So I'm going to crack on with this. I will see you all bright and early, very, very early, for some harvesting next time out. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. I am Jim Bob, and I'll be back with some more Marwell Manor very soon.